of the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, February 19th. So we have the moon in Aquarius energy and we'll be there for the majority of the day. We will see the moon go void, of course, 9:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we will not lock into Pisces energy until 11:57 p.m. So there's a little bit of the latter part of the evening that's going to feel a little bit shaky, a little bit wonky, but hey, we're in the new moon window, the dark phase of the moon. We're sitting in the darkness. We're sitting in the funk. It's the last day that Venus is in Pisces energy as well. So realistically, not just the evening is going to feel wonky. We're likely going to feel the ups and downs, the highs and lows as we move throughout the day. There are 10 different aspects here today. 9 of them involve the moon. So the moon right out of the gate, while still in Aquarian energy, is going to square, get into the boxing ring with Uranus, its ruler. So a square, as you know, is a tension point. We have to sit with conflict. Why? Because that's where we get illuminated to what needs to change right now, what we need to focus on right now. So the moon, of course, is our emotions. And in this Aquarian energy, we are emotionally detached so that we can act as the observer, see the bigger, broader picture of things. Uranus normally gives us these aha moments, these moments of clarity. However, this is a square, so there's some tension here. We're not thinking clearly. We're not feeling clearly. What we're doing is we're a little bit cold and rigid. We're a little bit detached. We're a little bit removed. And because Uranus is in this Taurus energy, we're really starting to see what isn't working in our physical realms. So that could be routines, it could be relationships, it could be money matters, it could be projects, it could be goals. Whatever it is over the last 4.5 months that you've been illuminated to, that you're holding on to dear life, even though you know that you have to make some changes, that you're actually, praying for some changes, but yet you're still holding on to certain topics, themes, relationships, titles, possessions with the death grip, this is where you're likely going to be illuminated, where things have to end. And it's a great time to realize this, seeing as we are in the new moon window, because we have to figure out what it is that we're done with, what it is that we're over, what it is that we've outgrown, what it is we can no longer stand or tolerate. And from that, we use that as a framework to create new seeds of intentions that, as long as we focus on it and get our mind right, get our feelings right, we will be able to actually manifest it. If you need a little bit of help with the shadow work for this particular moon, please go ahead, listen to the astro forecast that I put out there and download your moon guide. That's what this energy is all about, identifying the shadow parts, the ugly parts, the old parts, and bringing them into our awareness so that we can make a sudden shift in our perception, in our thoughts, in our feelings, and really hone in on what we need to create from here. So the moon will trine, which is a beautiful energy, with Mars, the god of war, ruling over our physical energy, our passion, our desires, our motivation, and our anger. Now, granted, this is a trine, so this is where we get some air on air energy. The moon in Aquarius, air sign. Mars in Gemini, air energy. So we get this air on air action. So there's a lot of thoughts, a lot of pressure in our mental plane. We're sorting things out. This Gemini energy has had us very divided in figuring out what it is that we're excited about, what it is that we're passionate about, what it is that we actually want to pursue in life. Although things are becoming a little bit more clear. And with the moon in Aquarius energy, again, we're acting as the observer to see where it is that new inspirations, new ideas are coming to the forefront, what it is that we want to do with that, visualizing the greater, grander picture, and getting a little bit hyped up, ready to take action when we are permitted to do so in order to actually bring some of these ideas, these dreams, these visions, these goals to life. So around midday, we have Venus, the goddess of love, beauty, worth, pleasure, money, in Piscean energy, nearing the final degrees, mind you, who just kind of had her little bit of a reality check over the last couple of days, especially with Mr. Saturn kind of poking the bear, if you will. Slapped the rose-colored glasses off of her face. Now she's doing the deep dive in the not-so-nice thoughts and feelings inside of her. Why? Because she's about to close out a chapter. She's in the final degrees of Pisces energy. The minute that she moves into Aries energy, there's new lessons, new emotions, new passions, new desires, new soul contracts that unfold for her. So the very last degrees of this Pisces energy is definitely going to push us to unravel just a tad. Now, here's the thing. Venus is sextiling Pluto. Pluto is the god of the underworld. He rules over transformation. He rules over power and control. And this is a sextile, thank goodness, because this means that it's a positive vibe. But what we're doing here is we're slowly waking up to the fact that, guess what? Yeah, we have been living in la la land. We've been lying to ourselves. We've been trying to make ourselves feel good about our current circumstances. And now we're getting real with it. What are we getting real about? Well, we are kind of peeling back the layers on recognizing where it is that our needs, our wants for love, for intimacy, for connection, for comfort, for pleasure, they're not being met. And we can spin it whichever way we want to spin it. But once those rose-colored glasses come off and we're being real with ourselves and we're looking at the people in our lives and just recognizing that maybe they are doing their best, but their best isn't good enough to make us feel good and safe and supported and fulfilled, that's an issue. So we're definitely moving into the psyche, because that's where Pluto kind of bases his power, is taking us on a little bit of a journey in our inner realm, our inner mind, in order for us to kind of see new, I'm going to say insights, new wants, new needs, new desires, and how it is that we're going to go about, and again, adding a little bit of strategy in here, either cutting the cord with some of these relationship dynamics that we are just not even going to try to get any more out of, or in the relationship dynamics that we do deem to be of worth and value, where we are feeling disconnected, where we are feeling a lack of safety, support, stability. How are we going to go about having these conversations and manipulating the energy exchange in order to make this relationship dynamic balanced? We are definitely more intense with our feels. We're in Pisces energy, for goodness sakes. Pisces energy is super sensitive, hypersensitive, if you will, super intense, can be very overwhelming, can feel like we're being consumed by our emotions at times. And that pushes us into wanting to detach and avoid the situation, kind of curl up in a ball and just wait for things to fix themselves. However, we can feel the good things just as intensely as well. But I feel like at this particular point, we're really struggling to focus on the good, because we're realizing where it is that we've been doing ourselves a disservice by trying to fluff up and better our circumstances, pluck out those silver linings, when realistically, when we get down to the nitty gritty of it, in our heart, in our soul, we want depth, we want intimacy, we want connection, we want to feel heard, we want to feel seen, especially by the people that we love. So this is going to kind of peel back the layers and make us get a little bit more real and raw and authentic with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our wants, our needs, our desires, and really put us in a situation to see what it is that we need to do for ourselves to repair some of these quote unquote broken energy exchanges. The moon will then bump into Neptune in not the nicest way, but it's not a negative way per se. It just means that we start sitting in the confusion instead of sitting in the clarity. We start feeling overwhelmed and wanting to numb ourselves out instead of leaning into the emotions of the uncomfortability that we need to experience in order to recognize where there needs to be a change. The Neptune energy is our dreams, it's our imaginations, it's our fantasy, it's our creativity, but it's also our wounds. You know, we've been talking about this Pisces energy. We're about to jump into Pisces season here and really get our feet wet. We just moved into this Piscean energy late this evening, so we're not even acclimated yet. We're already in the new moon window. We're already at the last degrees of Venus being in this Piscean energy. And of course, Neptune, who rules over Piscean energy, is in its place of power now, but we're still adapting. And there's not a whole lot of clarity. There's more confusion, if anything, especially after Venus and Pluto just kind of popped off. Yes, it's revealing our truest wants, needs, and desires for commitment, for intimacy, for relationships. But now we're just confused about how it is that we feel about our current circumstances, and even more confused on how it is that we are going to fix and remedy some of the issues that just got brought up for us. The moon is going to make a positive interaction with the true node, which tells me that we don't spend very much time sitting in the confusion, sitting in the void of funk. What we're doing is we're recognizing, and side note, take a moment to realize how much faster, how much easier it is to process some of these harder emotions. I don't feel like we give ourselves enough credit. And sometimes if we take ourselves and even look, 2-3 years ago, we would sit in certain funks for a very, very prolonged time. And now it's like we have the funk arise, we acknowledge the funk, we're aware of it, we bring it into our being, and we start processing it, and we come up with solutions really freaking quick. So this is kind of an indicator of that. We don't sit in the confusion for very long. That true node is asking us to get on the right path in order to move forward. The moon in Aquarius is shining a bright light on the future, on the possibilities of the future, especially when we break ties with the old parts of us, with the old relationships, with the old ways of thinking, the old ways of feeling. What is possible for us when we stop limiting ourselves by our past experiences? So we're piecing things together here. Now, the moon is going to semi-square Jupiter, and this is going to magnify whatever it is that we're thinking and feeling, and a semi-square is a little bit of a tension point, and I'll kind of give you an overview. Jupiter is about growth and expansion, beliefs, abundance, blessings. He's the silver linings. And he is also the spiritual wisdom that we accumulate from our past experiences. And he's in Aries energy, as we've been discussing. So he's in a brand new cycle. He's setting the tone for the next 12 years. He's been very eagerly awaiting, making big leaps of faith, making big moves, really going and putting ourselves out there to create a brand new opportunity for us to rise up in this new identity. However, as you may know, we're not in the most prime opportunity to be taking these leaps of faith, to be making these major moves. We will be. We are just coming into the new moon, so we are going to see a lot of forward movement this week. However, the moon in Aquarian energy is, again, emotionally detached and really kind of tapping into that independent need in order for us to step back and kind of process ourselves and see what's what. And this particular interaction, because it's a semi-square, a little bit of a tension point, we're not able to take the action immediately like Jupiter in Aries energy would want us to. There's a lot of impulse that comes up here. And because Jupiter is a magnifier and he turns the volume all the way up on whatever it is that we're thinking, it's likely going to be a lot of pressure in our mental plane. The moon comes up to, sits next to, bumps into Saturn. Saturn is the lord of karma, and Saturn rules over Aquarian energy just as it rules over Capricorn energy. Saturn is actually the traditional ruler of Aquarian energy, and Uranus is the modern day ruler over Aquarian energy. And as we've been discussing, Saturn, especially if you listen to the ascension forecast for this week, I went on a little bit of a rant about Saturn, but Saturn is nearing the ending point of Aquarian energy. And, he's about to move into Pisces energy, which is going to be a totally different life lesson for us for the next approximately 2 years. And in Aquarian energy, at these final degrees, there's this intensity, this pressure, this heaviness, this weight for us to get it. Get what, you may ask? The lessons that Saturn in Aquarius was meant to teach us. And if you want to go back to 2021, that's when Saturn first moved into Aquarius energy. He's been teaching us about boundaries, teaching us about where it is that we got to stop dimming our light in order to fit in with other people, and where it is that we got to boss up to new roles and responsibilities and stand away from the crowd, even if it means standing alone, where it is that we have to kind of build new systems, foundations, and structures in our lives so that we're not constantly basically putting our own wants, needs, and desires on the back burner in order for us to do what we think other people want us to do. So he is coming with a lot of weight, and the moon kind of conjunct Saturn at this time does have a tendency to bring up the to-do list, the weighted list, the negative Nancy list, the Betty Bully list. We definitely get a lot of more negative inner dialogue talk under this particular energy. However, what we are challenged to do with this particular aspect is to accept the weight, accept the roles, accept the responsibility, accept that we have really grown and that we've healed and that we essentially are moving on and that we are bringing things to a close and that there are endings taking place, and that all of this is naturally unfolding in order for us to kind of boss up, to level up, to accept the new roles and responsibilities that come along with the karmic lessons that we're about to move into. So this is actually 9:01 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And this is the last aspect that the moon in Aquarius makes before going void, of course. And when the moon goes void, we semi-square with Chiron, the wounded healer. And again, I'm hoping that we're going to be able to avoid going down into the depths of the darkness with the moon bumping into Saturn, because interacting with Chiron in this way has a high probability that we're going to really be sitting in the fears and the doubts, the insecurities, really recognizing our wounds, recognizing where we don't feel prepared, recognizing where we don't feel equipped, if you will, to actually boss up to some of the roles and responsibilities that are being asked of us right now. The moon furthers this intensity by bumping into Pluto, the great transformer, in not the nicest way. So this does have a tendency to kind of take us on a little bit of a psychological trip down memory lane in order to remind us of all the pain and suffering and trauma, all the wounds that we've accumulated, all of the instances in our past that we wanted something, we wanted to change something, that we tried to pursue something, that we weren't successful in doing it. This is the dark force energy's way of trying to prevent us from actually bossing up and moving forward. And it does need to get a little bit dark. May I remind you, we're in the dark phase of the moon. That's what a new moon is all about. We need to sit with the weight of our pain and trauma. We have to understand what it is that we no longer want to deal with. Pluto is here to help us transform the pain and the struggle and the trauma, the darkness, into a source of light, into betterment. But we kind of have to sit in this state of paralysis of not feeling so good about life in order for us to kind of muster up the courage and the bravery that we're going to need to make major moves when we are given the opportunity to do so. The last aspect that we have here today, while the moon is still in Aquarian energy, while the moon is still void, is a not so nice interaction with Venus. So because Venus is having her little, breakdown before the breakthrough, this isn't likely going to feel very good. Again, we're playing off the earlier energies and aspects that are kind of building up this fear-based narrative, this not good enough narrative, the self-worth narrative. And Venus is really going to be overwhelmed with this particular energy by the end of the day. And we will be lucky if we're not in total disassociation mode where we just want to kind of check out of reality altogether and just kind of zone out and stare at a wall, if you will. And we're not feeling so good about our emotions. We're not feeling so good about our relationships. We don't know what's going to make us happy. There's an intensity here because Venus is at the last degrees of Piscean energy. And overall, our heart space is just not as welcoming, as comfortable, as I'm going to say, as nurturing as we would like it to be. But again, we're in the dark phase of the moon, so we do have to expect these not so nice thoughts and feelings to definitely creep up in our awareness.